Greetings, fellow members of the Esoteric Order of Gamers, and welcome to the final part of this series on painting Reichbusters by Mythic Games. Now, if you've watched the previous episodes, and I highly recommend that you do, go back and check them out. You'll know that I have painted most of the figures up to this point quite quickly and churned them out because they've been sort of batch figures and grunts and zombies and things like that. So I've done them quite fast, though they still look pretty good, so I can get through them all quickly. Now we're on to the heroes, and this is where I want to spend a little bit more effort and time in making them better, because your heroes are going to be on the table most of the time, or some of them are, and you're going to be looking at them a lot more, and it's nice to put a bit more attention into them so they look really good. So basically, even though I'll just be going through in the same way and showing you the colours that I chose for painting these, just take a little bit more time and care as you paint these. If you want to, of course, you don't have to. And if you put a bit more into them, they will pay you in dividends because they'll look better on the tabletop. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, and here's Sarge, one of the leader figures. And you can see I've used pretty much kind of standard Allied World War II colours here. So for his shirt, I've got Death World Forest, and I mixed in a little bit of grey into that just to make it a little bit more of a khaki colour. For his pants, I chose a Baneblade Brown. Of course, all the flesh colours throughout, you can choose any flesh colours you like. I usually do a mix of Cadian flesh tone and perhaps a little bit of Kislev flesh. That's just one choice for your flesh colours. You can do a whole range of flesh colours, of course, anything you like. For those boot protectors down the bottom there, I've used Talon Sand, which is a little bit different from Baneblade Brown and makes it a bit more different. And then brown throughout. On the pouches, in fact, for a lot of the pouches and backpacks for all these figures, the standard one I go to is Steel Legion Drab. And, of course, your standard metallic colours for guns and things like that. For the handle of the gun, the wooden areas, I've used Doom Bull Brown. And, of course, everything is washed with good old Agrax Earthshade. Flesh areas washed with Seraphim Sepia. And then you can start highlighting. And highlighting a lot for these brown colours, it's good to mix in a little bit of Shabti Bone as your highlight colour. Just mix that into your base colour to give a good highlight. And as I said, just take a little bit more care as you go through. And then pick out little things like the little buckles with Runefang Steel. The shoes are Rhinox Hide, and that's about it for Sarge. Moving on now to Clawdeen. I used Scrag Brown for her hair. That's this quite chestnutty brown here. And of course, Mephiston Red for the scarf. Doom Bull Brown again for the gun stock. Steel Legion Brown for the backpack. Again, the khaki colour is Death World Forest with a little bit of grey mixed into it. And for the shirt, because this was primed white, I just left the shirt white. And then when it was washed with a little bit of Agrax Earthshade all over the figure, that shadowed the shirt quite nicely, and then I highlighted it back up to white. Her cap is Dark Reaper, and same with the armband there as well. For her weapon, I used Leadbelcher as usual, but I mixed a little bit of black in with it as well to give a sort of darker gunmetal look. Of course, the pants are just black, picked out with very fine strokes of grey and even a dab of white on the knee. You'll be needing a pretty fine brush to do this kind of paintwork. There's a lot of detail in these figures. Next up, we've got the gun-toting Breck. And same kind of colours, Steel Legion Drab on the backpack there, the same khaki colour on the shirt. Little details picked up out with Runefang Steel. His pants are Storm Vermin Fur, mixed with a bit of black, and then highlighted up with greys. Again, the boot protectors, I don't know what the special name is for those. They are Talon Sand. And his hat, of course, Corn Red, highlighted up to Mephiston Red, and then a little bit lighter than that. And lots of flesh areas there, just mixing white with the flesh to do the highlights. Here's Quentin. He's got Steel Legion drab pants, a Gorthor brown shirt. That's this nice brown colour here. A Mournfang brown holster just there. And his rope is Karak stone. And of course a cap which is corn red highlighted to Mephiston red. I've also used Mournfang brown for his backpack. Next up we've got the Sniper Red Hawk, and she is mostly Baneblade brown on her gear. The cloak is Deathworld Forest, and she's got a Mournfang brown rifle, those wooden bits. Her hair I used Bugman's Glow, which is a sort of dark flesh colour, and then highlighted that up to quite a light colour with some white. Again, Steel Legion drab for the pouches and things like that, and some black highlights on the boots and the knee pads. And a fine red lining to the cloak. And you can see I've just mixed white with Deathworld Forest to highlight up her cloak quite carefully. Gone quite light on the areas around the shoulders where you'd catch the most highlight. Here's O'Reilly, Steel Legion drab for the pants. Again, metal areas for all this metal stuff in his back. And I used a little bit of Blood for the Blood God here to sort of make the area where the metal meets his flesh a bit bloody. Yeah, horrible. Rest is just metal weapons, nothing too special there. And Scrag brown for his hair. Here's Gisela Gruber, who's a bad guy and for some reason is holding this large purple eye. I don't quite know why, I haven't worked that out yet. Perhaps it's explained in the scenarios. She's mostly black all over and just carefully highlighted with grey up to tiny, tiny touches of white. The cloak is corn red, highlighted with Mephiston red, and then I just mixed in a little bit of orange for the highlights, so you get a different coloured highlight there. For the purple, it's mainly this one, which is Genestealer Purple, and painted in the eyeball quite carefully there with a little bit of a white highlight just to dot the reflection in the eye. And then using Avalanche Sunset for the yellow edges of her skirt and her cloak. So pretty easy to paint. Just again, you just need a fine brush and a steady hand for all that detail. And the final one we've got from the core set is General Wolfe, and I love this figure. In fact, when I first saw the campaign, this is pretty much the figure that sold me on the whole thing. I just love this kind of metallic walking wheelchair, which is powered by Vril, and doesn't it look great? That was very simple to do because it was prime white. I left his jacket mostly white and just washed it with Seraphim Sepia and then highlighted it back up with a bit of a Shabti bone mixed with the white. His pants, though they're a bit difficult to see, they're Cabalite green mixed with a bit of black. And apart from that, there's just a lot of picking out of little details there. There's the medals on his chest and things like that, so you just need a very fine brush and just pick out all that little bits of detail. The chair itself is mostly Leadbelcher, washed with Agrax, Earthshade and Nuln Oil. Nothing too fancy about that, just makes it look all oily and greasy. Bit of a highlight of Runefang steel. Finally, we've got these two big guys, the Vril Panzer, and aren't they fantastic, huge walking tank things? Now, you can be really careful with these and spend ages painting them, but I think I got a really good effect here by mostly dry brushing them. I did them in two different colour schemes just for the sake of variety, though you could paint them both the same if you want to. Do what you want. This is a sort of German tank camouflage pattern, and this one is more the sort of blue-grey armour, though this is quite blue. I'd probably, if I did this again, I'd go a little bit more dark grey, but it's come out quite blue, but still it looks really good. This is mostly Shadow Grey, which is sort of a blue-grey. This isn't made by Citadel anymore, but any grey with a bit of blue in it will do. I undercoated both of these figures black, so I could dry brush up from the black. And it's just mainly careful dry brushing and highlighted up a bit with a lighter dry brush of Fenrisian Grey. throughout. You don't have to get into every little area of detail, but you can get in there and paint some of the areas with lead belcher, these metal areas in there, and the pistons, especially these pistons here on the feet, the barrel of the gun, any sort of handles and things like that. There's a handle up there. I've got the old red going to orange colour for the bits where it's being powered by Vril, which you've seen on previous figures. Bullets as well, of course, is lead belcher. A little bit of warp lock bronze on the edges of the bullets, and all mixed with Nuln Oil and Agrax Earthshade. I didn't do a wash on these. I did a wash on the metallic areas, but not the other areas of the blue where I was dry brushing up from black. And there you go, very easy to do. This insignia is painted black and then highlighted up to a very light grey. And then I just painted on the little German cross there. Then we've got the camouflage pattern, and this was just very roughly done and painted quite easily. The three main colours are Dryad Bark and Talon Sand. And for the green, we've got Castellan Green. So I just painted those patterns on very roughly with a large brush, easy to do. And then mixing in a Shabti bone into these colours to give highlight colours, I just carefully dry brushed highlights on each of those three different strips of colour. And it's pretty simple, but the effect is really good, giving it that camouflage effect. All the metallic areas done in the same way as I said before, washing those with Agrax Earthshade and Nuln Oil to give it a nice greasy oily look. And also when there's battle damage on these figures, I just put a bit of brown ink on those as well to make them look a bit grotty. And there you have it, folks, a little series on how to paint Reichbusters by Mythic Games. It's a really fun dungeon crawling combat game. There's some really nice stealth elements in it as well. I'm enjoying it, and it looks fantastic when it's all painted up. So I highly recommend getting your paints out and giving it a go. If you follow this series of tutorial videos, I'm sure you'll get some tips for painting them up pretty quickly. You don't have to spend months and months and months to paint your games and make them look good enough for the tabletop. You can use these techniques to get them done pretty quickly. Anyway, as always, if you have any comments, please make them in the comments section below. Please subscribe and hit all notifications. And don't forget to check out the Esoteric Order of Gamers website at orderofgamers.com. You will find a rule summary and reference sheet for Reichbusters, which I've created. There's also hundreds and hundreds of other ones there. Thanks very much for watching, everybody, and I hope you enjoy your games of Reichbusters now that they're painted. Well done. See you next time.